Hey y'all, Matt Nassa Beers back with an actual beer review. Yeah. First beer I've had in over 2 months. How about that? So for those that don't actually keep score at home, I did kind of like a reset of my beer drinking habits, along with like a dry January, that kind of thing. And what that ended up being was, right around before Thanksgiving up until today, which is February 1st. Really haven't been drinking beer. Kind of. I've been doing a lot of non-alcoholic stuff. I popped off a couple non-alcoholic beer reviews along the way. Today is the first, and today is going to be the first kind of like beer review proper, alcoholic-wise, that I've done in quite some time. So if I'm a little bit rusty, forgive me. And I'm probably going to do like a recap of my experience over the past, 2.5 months or whatever it may be, of doing a whole kind of, reset, kind of my palate, reset my everything about it. It was a whole kind of habit changing thing. We'll go into that. But this is actually a beer review. And I was kind of curious, or the decision process for what beer am I going to do when I come back. I was like, what should it be? Should I go back to an old guard beer that I really love? So I just grab whatever is in the fridge, kind of grab and see what comes out. And then lo and behold, this ended up coming my way. Yeah, why not go big for the first beer you do? This is a magnum. That's right, a magnum of sparkling lager from both Goldfinger Brewing and Hop Butcher Brewing. This was sent to me by Jeremiah. Thank you very much, brother. He sent off this as a singular thing that he just kind of sent off. Came in my house. I opened it up. I'm like, holy crap, thank you very much. Ended up texting him because this is the stuff that really tickles me pink. And not just large format bottles. We all kind of love those. But when you kind of start to throw in, okay, it's a lager. It's a little itty bitty beer. What do we have the ABV on this being? It's on here somewhere. 5.7, so not the smallest lager in the history of mankind. But it's a sparkling lager, so I assume it was one, champagne yeasted, because I didn't look anything up. And two, I'm assuming this was made for kind of New Year's, like kind of like a celebration, the Dawn kind of label on it. Kind of this whole kind of like, okay, let's crack these on New Year's, champagne kind of thing going on. Let's get crazy. And I didn't ask, but that was my assumption. But like I said, I ended up texting Jeremiah. I was like, thanks, man, this is really cool. I guess they only had a couple of these left over. He said he only sent out 3 of these. One to me and Josh Noel. If you don't know who that is, that's crazy. He's the guy who wrote the Goose Island book, the Bourbon County Stout and Selling Out. And Jamie Bogner from Craft Beer and Brewing Magazine. So thank you very much, brother, for sending us off. That is epically cool. I am a sucker for large format bottles. Like I said, this is a 1.5 liter bottle that makes this a magnum. Standard bottle, your standard bottle is your 750 millimeter half, or split bottle would be your half of that, half 375 milliliter. A lot of people don't know the names and stuff. We'll go over them. I have the list so I don't forget here. Then you got 3 liters, which is your double magnum or Jabom. Now, these are all terms that pretty much are stolen from the wine world, so take that for what it's worth. 6 liter is an Imperial or a Methuselah. There is a 6 liter bottle of Guten that I know exists in the wild that I want to buy and drink. 9 liters Salmanzar, 12 Balthazar, and 15 is the Nebuchadnezzar, which is 15 liters of beer or a really good movie and a couple of movies and a movie I haven't watched yet with a ship and Keanu Reeves. Anyway, so yeah, like I said, this is a beer was brewed in collaboration with Hop Butcher for the World, light, fizzy, and dry with bright hop aromas to activate your memories as you bid adieu to the past 365. So if I would have read that, then I would have known that it was kind of their homage, their champagne. So I figured it'd be apt, an apt thing, kind of celebrating coming out of my little kind of personal, I don't know, what would you call it? I say reset. Maybe like some kind of Vision Quest? Could we call it Vision Quest? It's a very, very good cheesy movie from the 80s. There's got to be a big cork in here because this I'm trying to cut this wax off and it's just not happening. So I'm thinking there's a big champagne style cork in this sucker. I think I was actually cutting into the actual cork itself. No, there's just a cap on it. Okay, fair enough. I thought it was going to be this is just fatty old... Ooh, man, it's hissing while I'm doing this. So I'm glad they actually... This cap actually might come off when I pull this wax off. That's how thick this wax is. Good God. This is brute force it. Be the Neanderthal that I am. No, that's not going to work either. So back to the old guard of reviews that I used to do, which is just me doing shithousery, apparently. So there you go. Man, look at how thick that wax is, man. That is a big bulbous. That's right, I said it. Bulbous thing of wax. Now, I know they did do this in cans. I think these big bottles were kind of like a one-off thing for friends and family, maybe, or something like that. I mean, I have to pour this like I know what I'm doing. And because I know a couple people, actually, I did like a picture of this on my Instagram. People like, oh, I had that today. I had a can of that today. It was really, really good. This is way too cold, by the way. I apologize, but it's lager. It's supposed to be cold. This is actually all my beer. Can I bring my little cork? Yeah. Make sure I bring my little cork, because I don't know if I'm going to be drinking this tonight. Ease back into the beer a little bit. I've been keeping all my beer that I've had during this time out in my beer fridge and in the old garage, and it is wintertime, so we just basically unplug it. Nothing gets too cold. So it acts as like an opposite, as almost an insulator to a certain extent. So the inside of the fridge gets cool, but it never gets cold to the point where things freeze. But I would put this closer to like high 30s as opposed to where I typically like it, which would be kind of probably in your mid to high 40s. So we'll have to work this temperature up and go from there. So you can see it's a nice kind of unfiltered kind of lager. Not super unfiltered to a point where it looks like a new school American hazy style, out of control kind of lager. But if you look there, I mean, yeah, definitely looks the part of something quite delicious. Nice, tight, compact head to it, and just this beautiful, soft little haziness to it. Something you really expect from like more like a farmhouse ale, as opposed to a lager. Now you're talking about a sparkling lager. Like I said, this is me doing all the assumptions are belong to this guy, but I'm assuming they just champagne yeast this. They dry hop this a little bit, little champagne yeast, but it definitely looks like a very, very pretty beer. A celebration beer, if you will. Let's try and get a nose. I mean, it really does come off as a I don't want to say punchy, like super hyper aggressive hopped, but there's a nice citrus kind of bright, almost lemongrassy kind of vibe to this beer when it comes to the hop side of things. There's this crisp, clean, super crispy boy status going on here. Crackery malt, snappy, nothing too overly dense, nothing even close to being dough. The exact opposite of that. Comes off very, very clean and crisp on the nose, but it has that nice citrus lemongrass kind of combination that I really, really enjoy, especially when it comes through big on a kind of relatively small beer. Again, like I said, 5.7, you know, it's not the smallest lager in the world, but it just smells like a really bright, well done, nice dry hopped without being overly aggressive kind of lager. Not huge in the funky notes with the lager, but you can just get that clean crispness from the beer. I expect it to come off a bit dry. If they did use a little champagne yeast, I think I can kind of dig that. So yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it for the nose. So let's dive in. Cheers. Cheers, y'all. Happy February. Oh. It's a weird kind of combination because, you know, being that I haven't done a beer review in 2.5 months. Well, if you don't count the non-alcoholic stuff, which is some really good ones. Actually, there's more good ones than I actually can get content out for. One of my resets for me was actually like purposely only reviewing stuff on occasion. That's how kind of how things are going to roll here. 2 to 3 times a week, you're going to get something. And I ended up finding a bunch of non-alcoholic stuff I really enjoyed, but I just couldn't get most of it up. So what did I do? I just drank it. I had fun with it, enjoyed it. So they still might hit the airwaves or video waves, whatever you want to call it. But really coming off of that, one of my biggest kind of curiosities was how I was going to react when it came to kind of just drinking beer, you know? This is like to a T what I loved before I took my little hiatus, you know, nicely hopped, purposely done, a little bit of dryness, but there's still a little bit of sweetness. Beautiful mouthfeel. It's crispy. It has a sturdiness to it. It's not just thin and watery. And I was wondering if I was going to do the whole Eddie Murphy, like having a cracker after being on a desert island kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like the old joke from Eddie Murphy. I think it was raw. I don't think it was delirious. where he talked about, I think this mic is like totally not where it should be. And even though you guys hear me, I don't think it's probably doing me any kind of justice as far as what you guys can actually hear from me. Let's do this. Let's do that. Okay. I think that might be better. Anyway, yeah, he was like, he did this bit about like, Rich had this fancy crackers are great and all that stuff, and you look down on kind of saltines, but then if you're on a desert island, you get off and you have a saltine, you're like, the best goddamn cracker I ever had in my life. It's kind of like one of those things. Was I going to kind of jump off of this, and the first beer I dive into, which is this one, am I going to be like, this is just delicious because I'm drinking a beer? I really don't think that's the case. I really don't think that's the case. There's nothing here as far as negativity goes. I'm not going to forget what flaws are. I'm not going to forget what a bad mouthfeel is. Those kind of things. And like I said, in combination, some of the really good non-alcoholic beers that I've had, I don't think my practice or palate, maybe the review portion of the show that I haven't done quite a bit, but that has really dropped off all that much. And this comes off beautiful. Exactly kind of what you'd want for like a New Year's kind of celebration. And that it's giving you drinkability. Sure, 5.7. I'd love it to be closer to 4. But, beggars can't be choosers. Well, we can, but whatever. But when you add in the sweetness, which isn't big, like there's just dryness, but there's a little bit of sweetness that comes over the top, which is quite nice, which bounces nice with this big citrus / lemon droppy kind of hoppiness. What do they call? Did they actually call the hops out on this? Yeah, it says dry with bright aromas, activate. Yeah, they don't call it out. I think this is a Goldfinger. I think this is a Goldfinger jam. Like it actually got brewed on their side. I think. I could be wrong. That's what happens when you don't do research. But it gives me this big punchy hoppiness, but not too big for its britches, especially when you combine it. It has that sweetness in combination with that dryness. So it's the combination of the two. Again, people are like, you can't have both. Yes, you can. And it's here. And it, honestly, it's really sturdy. Again, that's the word I want to use. Sturdy, not big, not dense, not thick mouthfeel. You wouldn't want that with a 5.7% lager. I think it gives you this nice kind of sturdy, malty kind of backbone that is that crispiness, that is that crackeriness. Is big enough to kind of hold everything together, and then when you add that nice carbonation to it, which I really didn't speak of, it's not champagne level carbonation, so I wouldn't be surprised if it wasn't champagne yeasted, maybe multi-yeast, multi-culture kind of thing, maybe a little bit of champagne yeast to recarb, but made with more like a lager yeast. That would be my guess, maybe. I think it's delicious. I think it's fantastic. I think it's a really great crusher on a little bit of high ABV side, and really an apt beer to kind of kick this back off. I'm pumped to dive back into the old beer review world to kind of live in this kind of universe that I missed. Again, I don't want to get too gushy. I don't want to get too kind of like, this is what happened, this is what I thought, this is what I was thinking the whole time. I wasn't doing all this beer stuff. I think that's more, that needs its own kind of video. But I missed doing beer reviews. I really did. And I think this is a perfect choice to dive back into them. And a very tasty beer nonetheless. Let's actually talk about the beer. How about that? Really beautiful mouthfeel without being... Again, it's hard to quantify because there's a lot of juxtaposition here. In that, I think it's a crispy mouthfeel, but it has a density to it. Okay? I think it has a sweetness to it, but there's also an inherent dryness to it. I think the way the hops play both in the bittering side of things and both on that sweet citrus kind of lemon droppy thing is absolutely beautiful. And the carbonation's on point. Even with it being a little bit colder than it needs to be, I think this is going to be really fun kind of drinking this, letting it kind of warm up and kind of open in and of itself. But all in all, an absolutely stellar, let's put it this way, best lager I've had from either Goldfinger or Hoppinger. I know I had a collaboration beer from Goldfinger Hoppinger. I believe I had some Goldfinger sent to me individually. I could be wrong there. And Hoppinger's lagers have been quite nice. Their small, crispier beers have been great. Probably one of the better ones of the whole lot. So let's put it that way. Very tasty stuff. Super appreciative for sending it off, Jeremiah. And goddamn, good to be back. Yeah. So there you go. Reviews down, baby. hopefully you guys enjoyed it. I mean, price point on this, I have no idea. Like I said, there was only a couple bottles, sent them off. But please let me know what you guys paid for can-wise, if you did pick this up, and what you thought about it can-wise. If you enjoyed it, where it stacked up for you as far as lager goes. I mean, it's got to be a Chicago-based product on and of itself. And just a really tasty beer. Definitely up there as far as my ratings go. I really don't want to copy what I used to do beer review-wise, even though it's kind of impossible for me to do that. But I really think it would be irresponsible for me to eschew Mount Rushmore, because I think that's probably a tentpole in a lot of what people expect from me. This is up there. This is not Mount Rushmore as far as lagers go for me. It does. And that's taking the past year into account, because it's been a while since I've had a beer. Just really tasty stuff and fun to actually drink. So I'm really curious to see if any of you guys, gals, him, he, she, her, anything in between, have had this. More specifically, I would assume it was more of a Chicagoland kind of product. If you had this, let me know, because I think it is stellar stuff, and I'm glad I got to try it. So there we go. Review down. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. Hopefully you're chugging some lagers. That would be really good, man. See you next time. Cheers.